short while ago, I spoke with former Prime Minister of Ukraine and chairman of the Kyiv Security Forum, Arseniy Yatsenyuk, and I began by asking him about that attack in Kharkiv and how he interpreted this latest strike.
Putin is not ready to cut any kind of deal. So he wants to escalate, and his strategic goal hasn't changed completely. So the idea which he is obsessed with is to take over Ukraine, to undermine NATO, and actually to split the unity in the European Union is still ongoing. It means that we have to push hard to press on Putin, and we urgently need to deliver an additional security supplemental for Ukraine, to wrap up sanctions against Putin, to be on the same page, I mean the European Union and the Americans, in pressing on Putin and China, and we still have very high chance to win this war, but actions are needed.
Let's look at these actions. After brokering a ceasefire in the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump is shifting his attention back to the war in Ukraine now. Do you think he's serious about his threat to send Tomahawks to Ukraine if Vladimir Putin doesn't settle this war?
I just came back from D.C., from Washington. And I can tell you for sure that Washington is slightly different than it was 12 months ago. But we have a very big space for maneuver. And I believe it's important to realize that we have a very high chance to get along with President Trump and actually to make President Trump to get this Nobel Peace Prize. As you just mentioned, the U.S. administration, together with the Western world and with the free world, managed to get the real ceasefire in Gaza. Now, I hope that the U.S. administration will refocus and redouble its both attention and its efforts to get the real peace. And I want to reiterate once again, the real peace in Ukraine, a fair, just and durable peace, not on Putin's term. Because after what happened in Anchorage, it's clear for the Trump administration that Putin played President Trump. And the President of the United States, he is not ready to be humiliated, and he will definitely push back, and he will do his best in order to help Ukraine, as this is the best ever investment in the U.S. national security. So the mood in Washington, my reading of the mood is Washington, it's much better than I expected.
I have two questions there, picking up on some of the things you just said.
You've asked about Tomahawks. You've asked about Tomahawks.
Yeah.
Frankly, initially, I was thinking that it's just more for the media and for the publicity. But let me put it this way, what I know. It is not a hot air. It is not a hot air. And we can get some kind of deliverables. Let me say you this way.
Okay, and you said that you expect U.S. President Donald Trump to do everything he can to put an end to this war. What would that be? What can he do? What is he willing to do? How far is he willing to go?
It's up to the President of the United States to decide, but he has a lot of tools in his hands. The first and most important one is to provide a security aid to Ukraine. Either it is to be a kind of loan, or it is to be kind of land lease. It's on the table on the desk of the President of the U.S. The second one is to ramp up sanctions. Let me remind you that we still enjoy a bipartisan support in the United States. Under the latest polls of Harvard-Harris pollster, more than 73% of Republicans and 72% of Democrats support military aid to Ukraine. And there is an ongoing process in the U.S. Senate over an idea to wrap up sanctions and to impose secondary sanctions on Russia. 84 senators already co-sponsored this bill. The third issue which the U.S. president has in his hands is the pressure on China. And it's important to have our European allies on the same page with Americans. If you exert, I mean, the U.S. and the European Union, if you exert this kind of pressure on China, and China is an accomplice, and China provides a lifeline to Russia, we can bear some kind of fruits in these kind of endeavors. And last but not least is India. The US administration imposed the punitive sanctions against India. My take is better to follow a kind of incentivized approach towards India and to convince Prime Minister Modi to wean itself of the Russian dependence on oil and substitute the Russian oil with an American one. So, to put it in a nutshell, the US has a lot of tools and leverage to help Ukraine to win this war. And it's crystal clear that it's in the national security interest of the United States to make Ukraine win. And the same goes with the European Union.
President Zelensky is going to meet up with Donald Trump in Washington on Friday. You say there are a lot of tools at his disposal. What outcome are you hoping for there then?
Definitely much better than we experienced 6 months ago. You remember this notorious meeting in the Oval Office. Things has changed dramatically and you know, in a positive manner. President Zelensky got along with President Trump, and President Trump has learned a lot from his talk with Putin, because he expected to get some kind of concessions out of Putin in Alaska, rolling out the red carpet, providing a limo sharing. But in the end, Putin just rejected his kind of good demeanors and his acting in a good faith. So my guess is that after the meeting in the Oval between President Zelensky and President Trump, we will have some real deliverables. Let's wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. That was former Prime Minister of Ukraine, Arseniy Yatsenyuk.